Hey, the Eagles are the game of the week in the NFL again. Two best teams in football, Eagles and 49ers, big rematch, revenge for the Niners. And how are the Birds home underdogs with the best record in the NFL? We're breaking it down on Eagles Game Plan right now.
Hey, give nothing, take everything. 1, 2, 3, take
Hey everybody, welcome to Eagles Game Plan presented by Toyota. I'm John Clark along with Mike Quick and Ike Reese, and we keep saying it, the Eagles, they're the game of the week in the NFL every week. And this is the game of the week. Eagles, 49ers, big rematch for the Niners. But when you look at this gauntlet, this stretch, the Eagles have beaten the Cowboys, the Chiefs, and the Bills. Jalen Hurts, 14-0 in his last 14 games against winning teams, best all time by a quarterback. Do they continue against the San Francisco 49ers?
Well, you certainly hope that's the case, right? I mean, this is a tough test for the Eagles. I think it's the best team they will have faced all year long in this 49ers team.
We said that last week.
I know.
More than the Chiefs.
I know. You got to update your resume. You got to update your resume. Right now, the 49ers look pretty good. But I tell you what, it always starts up front, in the trenches. And I think when you look at the stretch the Eagles have gone on the last few weeks, I know from a defensive standpoint, some of the overall yardage may not look great. But here's what I love. This defensive line, late in games, usually know how to make plays. Hassan Reddick, Josh Sweat. We saw Brandon Graham last week. I thought that was a momentum-changing sack that BG had last week. We lost Fletcher early in the game, and the young pup stepped up and played well. Did you see Jordan Davis chasing Josh Allen over there? Did you see that? That was
Second fastest speed for defensive tackle.
pretty impressive from our D-line, and I love the way that they're able to find the energy and the plays late in games that helps us get wins. And we've seen it over the last 3 to 4 weeks that D-line comes up with big plays late.
But the offensive line, late in the game, there's no quitting these guys. It's amazing to me that Jack Driscoll finds out the morning of, hey, Lane Johnson may not be able to go. You're going to be the guy. Come on, man. That's hard to do.
Yes.
So he steps up and plays an unbelievable game. It all gets back, though, to Jeff Stoutland and getting this offensive line ready. Even when guys go down, there's no quit. That next guy steps in, and they play outstanding football. I love this offensive line. They're so much fun to watch. Kelsey, unbelievable.
Best.
Leading this offensive line, directing the traffic up front. They're so much fun, even for skilled guys like us. Like when you have an
Skilled guy.
Yeah, you're a skilled guy now.
For this show.
But when you have an offensive line that plays the way this offensive line plays, you have to be able to appreciate that because they're some of the best players in football.
And don't forget the game against the Bills turned on that DeAndre Swift 36-yard run in the third quarter. Really got things going. So how about the passing game? Yeah, exactly. How about 5 total touchdowns from Jalen Hurts? And he was slinging it in the second half. Let's break down the passing game with the passing game coordinator, Kevin Patullo. Here's tape study with our own Fran Duffy, presented by Chickies and Pete's.
Well, joining us this week here on Tape Study, presented by Chickies and Pete's, the official sports bar of the Philadelphia Eagles, Eagles pass game coordinator Kevin Patullo. And Coach, I want to take a look at 3 big throws from Jalen Hurts in this game. And there's a lot to pick from here, but we'll start with the touchdown to Devontae Smith. A lot of layers to this play that made it go.
Yeah, absolutely. So this first play right here, this is a look that we've been in quite a bit in this game and other games where we have 3 receivers detached, and we're trying to sell that we're running some kind of bubble, okay, with some kind of motion. And so over time, what happens throughout the season, these plays start to add up. We disguise them. We're throwing bubbles because a lot of times we're trying to get out of a bad run or a bad box count or a bad play in general. So when that happens, the defenders start to really attack downhill. And you can see right here just kind of what happened before the play even develops. They feel screen. They feel that quick bubble happening. So they're attacking. If you go back a little bit, you kind of see how this whole play starts, right? So right here with the motion, we're gonna try to stretch this guy and get his eyes inside. Now, when this play starts to develop, it's really important that Jalen knows if it's middle open coverage or middle closed. So at this point, he's gotta identify the guy that's gonna be in conflict, that's gonna react to this thing is now the corner. If it was a different coverage, it may be this player. But because it's cover 2, it's gonna be the corner. And now his read, once the play develops, is now the safety. So now we're gonna have a 2-on-1 fast break on this safety, and he has to read the safety. So what he does is we get a little bit of a fake here on the bubble by Julio, a little bit of a pump. We get these 2 guys to activate. Now you can see right here, we got a 2-on-1 on the safety. Okay, now it's his job Devontae to cross face to the safety. AJ stays for width up the ticks, and then we just completely read this guy. And this play happens, you're not gonna call this play 3 times in a game.
Sure.
This is kind of coming up over time. Hey coach, they're attacking the bubbles. We start to see it. We're throwing bubbles to get out of bad runs, then all of a sudden this play pops up in this position.
Yeah, and then with it being a middle of the field open coverage in Tampa too, he's got to get it up over this backer too. You got to be aware that he's not sinking too much with that.
Correct. This is a great job by Jalen. A great ball. He throws it high, away from the Tampa player and away from this backside safety. We're trying to hold him, but ultimately he will work across. And AJ's width is super important. If he doesn't get width, this guy does not work away from Devontae. This is a really, really well executed play. It's good for multiple coverages, and Jalen reads it out perfectly. We make this thing execute. You can see the little pump fake right there. That really gets the corner to activate on this thing, right? And kind of come up and play the bubble, gives him a clean lane, throws it over the extra defender here, and the safety working across. It's in a perfect spot. Devontae makes the play, and it's really well executed by everybody. It's not just Jalen, really everybody executed that play.
All right, so that was Jalen's second touchdown of the game. Let's take a look at his third one, and this one, maybe the most impressive of the night, and that was the touchdown to Olamide Zaccheaus to take the lead in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, so right here, it was a 3rd and 15, right? And we're in field goal range, essentially. We can't take a sack. We got to make something positive happen here. See if we can convert the 3rd down or get a closer range, or possibly, everybody knows we like to go for it, right? So if we get even closer, we may go for it. So in this case, we may not have the perfect play on the perfect coverage. This obviously turns into a scramble play. And really what happens with most great offenses is it's a scramble play. Us, the Chiefs, all these big time offenses, even Buffalo, when the quarterback gets on the move, it's really important that the receivers pay attention to where he's scrambling and make a play happen like this. Once the quarterback breaks contain, he starts to work this way, right? All these guys are taught to find space. So they're gonna run their initial routes. So the initial routes puts Devontae there, Kenny's here, and OZ's here. He's working this kind of deep seam. Well, once he starts to break contain, and he starts to work outside, Jalen does, now they all have to find their layers on the sideline, right? So Kenny's the short guy, OZ's already the deep guy, so then Devontae has to find the next spot, okay? And as it starts to string out even more this play, you can see they actually do a pretty good job of covering this. They cover this pretty well. Kenny's trying to find more work. He's trying to work back inside, but Devontae's already there. So now what OZ does a great job of, he starts to realize that, okay, there's somebody, a defender on my back. If I go deep, there's a lot of space here. And we try to teach everybody, one deep, one on the sideline, and one working across. OZ feels this, right? And he takes off deep as soon as Jalen pulls up. Now Jalen knows, right? As soon as a defender turns his back, he has no idea where this ball is. So he turns his back. As soon as Jalen feels that, he lets it go to the back of the end zone, throws a safe ball away from the defender. So it's OZ's catch or nobody's catch, right? And 23 cannot find the ball, can't locate it. And OZ makes an unbelievable catch that hangs on to this. This is a hard catch, right? So this is something we practice all the time in our catch circuit, right? When you have a ball that you have to catch and the defender is trying to knock it out through your arms, that is a extremely difficult catch, something we rep all the time. Great play by OZ, tries to get to his back to make sure he secures the catch so it doesn't bounce out. But really, it takes everybody on this one because everybody has to be in line with Jalen when he starts to scramble right here. As soon as it turns to scramble, start to work. There goes Devontae. He's going deep, he's trying to find work here. Kenny's working the sideline, OZ's the deep guy. We have all 3 guys where we want them. And like I said, these are the plays that don't get kind of noticed. We work on this all the time in practice, scramble drill. I mean, we actually designate 1 play a day for a scramble for this reason because you get big plays off this when you need them.
All right, let's go to overtime now. A deep completion to Devontae Smith. And this is a play we saw earlier in the game work against a similar coverage, and this one comes up huge in clutch time.
Yeah, so right here, we got kind of a shell coverage early on. So Jalen sees this. The corner, they were kind of doing this all game, mixing this up. The corner now is playing a little more of a press technique on AJ. So once this play starts to develop, he knows right now, Jalen, that, okay, it's some kind of middle open coverage. We're playing some kind of quarters. So, they all have their deep fourth, but he's playing more of a man technique. So with this concept right here, AJ has a post, Devontae's running across, and then we're trying to isolate the coverage back over here to kind of work it out to give Devontae more space. Now, Devontae's job is to work up the hash at 10 to 12, stick the route and work across to about 20 over here on the numbers. All right, now with this coverage right here, the corner, right, the technique he's playing is in a trail with AJ. So AJ's now, his post is probably not going to be somewhere where Jalen's going to throw it. So Jalen identifies this quickly. You can see right here, he's actually starting to load up to get ready to throw this thing. And when AJ makes his post break, he knows the corner's back is turned. AJ's gonna take out this safety, so there's gonna be a huge void in here for Devontae to throw it. Now, when you watch this thing thrown, this is a trust throw. He is throwing it on rhythm, saying, Devontae, you get to your spot, I will throw it early, you work across flat, but you have to protect the throw. So if Devontae worked upfield at all, and the cornerback actually fell off on this one, and so did the safety, this could be an interception. But Obviously, we trust Devontae, so does Jalen, and he does the perfect job of working flat down the line, protects the throw, catches it out in front. It's a huge play in overtime. The O-line did a great job all day and executed the play perfectly.
Let's go, Morrow! 9-0, 9-4. Yeah! Let's go! Go, ball! Oh, he bringing it out. He's trying it. Oh, he got scared. Boy! Y'all wasting plays. Yeah! All right, let me catch my breath. You must don't know Jalen Hurts like I know Jalen. Yeah. You must don't know Jalen Hurts like I know him. It don't matter. Hey, we kicking that way. It don't matter. Come on, let's go win this thing, Jalen. Hey, it's a run, Jalen. Yeah! What I tell you? What I tell you? Y'all gonna make me out the move over here.
All right, BG, that is a great moment. Brandon Graham, of course, setting the Eagles' all-time record, 189 regular season games played. And I know a guy who saw all of them and broke them down. Greg Cosell, let's go into his office at NFL Films. And Greg, when you look at this 49ers offense and when you look at Brock Purdy, leads the NFL in completion percentage, best quarterback rating, yards per attempt. Does it all start with him getting it to his playmakers?
Well, he's really good, John. He's probably a lot better than people think. But this is a little different offense than the Eagles have faced all season long. First of all, it's an offense that starts with what we call 21 personnel. They play with two backs and one is a fullback. And it kind of starts there, almost 40% of their offensive snaps. And when they're a normal down and distance, that's what you're going to see. And we want to show a pass play that begins just with the 21 personnel, as I said, because that's the foundation. So let's go to that right now. This is from their last game against the Seattle Seahawks. And you're going to see they're actually in 21 personnel, but they're so diverse formationally out of it. Because you see Kyle Juszczyk, he's actually number one in a tight bunch to the field side of the formation. And what are they going to start with? They're going to start with their outside zone run action. They actually will do that to the boundary side. This is a foundation of what they start with. Everything they do works off outside zone. So what do you normally get off outside zone? And boot action, look at the boot action. You get a backside crosser, but you're not going to get that here. And you can see the linebackers are actually looking for a backside crosser, but they're not going to get that. What they're going to get is a throwback element with Samuel working from the field to the boundary, and he's going to be wide open against this zone coverage, and it's going to be a big play for 24 yards on 1st and 10. That's the other critical piece, that this is 1st and 10. So they counter what they normally do, what you normally get off boot action by the quarterback, off outside zone. And you see that they kind of defeat, by the way, really good linebacker and Bobby Wagner there, who was uncertain as to what was going on. So they really put a lot of pressure in the pass game on second level defenders with their use of outside zone run action, boot action, and the route concepts that they run.
Greg, they're so creative offensively. I got to imagine that you kind of enjoy breaking down this type of tape. But when you look at them and the way the parts are so interchangeable, the way they move people around, how difficult is that for any defense to try and defend?
Well, that's really hard, Q. That's the issue you face. And Kyle Shanahan is a little bit old school. He sees the game as a 4-quarter game. So what he's doing at the beginning of every game through the first number of series is he's trying to find out how you match up to his different formations and motions. They are a big motion team, particularly in the run game. And that's one thing that Kyle Shanahan does extremely well. They'll motion Juszczyk across the formation, Kittle across the formation, and Q, you nailed it correctly as well. McCaffrey and Samuel very often are interchangeable pieces. So, you can't get caught up in trying to deal with all that movement, because then you're going to get caught and you're going to have a problem. And if one guy makes a mistake, we know what can happen.
Hey, welcome back to Eagles Game Plan presented by Toyota. This 49ers defense has given up the fewest points per game in the NFL, just 15 points. So let's go back to Greg Cosell in his office at NFL Films to break it down. And when you look at that front, how impressive is it with Nick Bosa, Chase Young, Eric Armstead, Javon Hargrave? They've all got 5 or more sacks. How do you block them up, Greg Cosell?
Yeah, it's difficult. That's sort of their foundational pass rush front, and those 4 might be the best in the NFL. But you know what, John? They do some other things as well, particularly on third down, that are really difficult to deal with for offensive lines because it's a combination of talent and the mental part in dealing with stunts. And let's go to an example of what they do on third down. This is from the Seahawks game, the last game they played. First thing I want you to notice is what we call a loaded front. You can see that 3 defensive linemen are to one side of the offensive center. So that's called a loaded front. But then look at Fred Warner. He's standing up opposite the loaded front. Basically, he's on the line of scrimmage. He's mugged up on the ball. And then you've got the wide 9 defensive end. Now, what they like to do out of this, and it makes it really difficult, is they often stunt on both sides. And the stunt they do from the load side is what we call a long stunt. So they will bring Nick Bosa all the way. He'll loop into the A gap. And as you see that happen, that is really difficult. But let's just stop it a little bit because you also want to see that Fred Warner is critical here because he's going to eat up the guard on the other side so that guard can help on this long stunt. So what happens is you see Bosa get into the A gap and the center now, who's blocking Armstead, he says, uh-oh, there's Bosa. I better jump in to get him. And then what happens? Armstead gets freed up for the sack. So this is really, really difficult for offensive lines to deal with. This is not just a function of the talent on your offensive line, but this is the mental part. This is timing. There's a lot of factors that go in to being able to handle that kind of stunting, which they do on third down.
I'm also looking at this 49ers defense, G, and I'm wondering, with the way Jalen Hurts has been playing the last few weeks, seems to be a lot healthier. He's starting to use his legs a little bit more, hurting teams on third down. Fred Warner, one of my favorite players to watch when he's not playing the Eagles. I love watching him play. But how do you think they're going to employ him versus Jalen Hurts? Do you expect to see a little bit of quarterback spying in this game from Warner?
That's a great question because the one thing about Warner and Greenlaw is they are fast players to begin with. So could there be situations where they do spy? Possibly, because don't forget, they're a zone-based team to begin with. They're not a high percentage man coverage team. So in a sense, Warner and Greenlaw are somewhat in position to react to the movement by Jalen Hurts anyway. And Warner's 6'3". I mean, he covers a lot of ground. So they may spy in a given situation, but I don't know if that'll be foundationally what they do based on down and distance.
Hey, welcome back to Eagles Game Plan presented by Toyota. Your Eagles are home underdogs at 10-1, best record in the NFL against the 49ers. Maybe that is a rallying cry this week, a little motivation. All right, time to call your shot, fellas.
Listen, Ike always puts a lot more thought into this than I do. I kind of just wing it. But this week, I'm going to be right. Hassan Reddick, he's going to have a huge game, and he's going to have a game-changing sack in this football game.
It's like the NFC title game, huh?
I like it.
Change the
I like
game.
that, Q.
Talk to me.
That. I'm going with A.J. Brown. I think he has a big game. Give me 100 yards and 2 touchdowns. I like it.
Oh, I hope that happens.
100 yards, 2 touchdowns.
I hope you're right.
Devontae went over 100 yards last week. Maybe it's AJ's turn this week.
Right.
Hey, this is a huge matchup. Maybe the 2 best teams in the NFL. Jalen Hurts has won 27 of 29 regular season games. And Brock Purdy, 16-1 when he starts and finishes a game and he has all his guys healthy. This is going to be a beauty. He's Mike Quick. He is Ike Reese. I'm John Clark. Thanks for watching Eagles Game Plan presented by Toyota. Eagles Game Plan is brought to you by Pepsi. 0 sugar. 0 never tasted so good. That's what I like. Toyota, your local tri-state Toyota dealers. Proud automotive partner of the Philadelphia Eagles. NovaCare Rehabilitation, the power of physical therapy.